Just noticing, okay, this isn't charging very fast. I'm gonna move this well because I think it's distracting. Yeah, that's kind of odd. I was just noticing that it said we'll start at 11:25 when it was 11:39, but then when I clicked to edit that, it then said it was 11:39, but now it's 11:40. Anyway, I don't know if that makes sense, but it didn't quite to me either. But kind of. Okay, so I'm just gonna allow for a few moments for people to tune in. Not put that in the chat actually. I'm still, I guess you could say very broad, not much with the glitz and glam of like introductions and stuff like that, or introduction screens and this and that. Maybe I'll eventually get there, but it's not my forte as much as what I'm offering up there. Offering here. Now I had to very start back through the night and this morning, so I hate to kind of sit where I'm sitting right now to do this. However, I don't think I should move the laptop just yet because we are at 35%, I believe. Yeah, 35%. I was clicking it, so it was instead of hovering over it, and then it was showing other stuff too. I don't know. I would like to actually, this charger should be able to reach over here, and of course it will. So it's a new device, and when we have it on the table over there, it's kind of tucked behind tucked at the side of the table, and it seemed tighter and therefore shorter than it actually is. So I'll do that here. So I'll roll for a little while though. We'll see how we do with things here. So this is primarily very viewer led. I mean, they often are, but this one is especially one of them. Um, because yeah, I mean, I could go on and on about on about on and on, but I could go on for a little bit about some random topic for those who see this afterwards, so that they kind of, if they've never seen the channel before or they're not sure what to think yet, whether they have or haven't, um, what to think. Um, yeah, basically, I don't know. I don't know why I thought that, instantly, instantly, people will be here and commenting, and I'll be helping them, and it'll be glorious and feel good for all of us. But glorious is maybe an interesting word choice, but there you have it. But I know that sometimes these things take time and are a bit slower too. So, and that every video is different and everybody is different. So, I mean, you know, there's always I think at least some good content, even if things are a bit slow or quiet. So, anyway, so yeah, kind of want to save my energy, but I do also understand the idea of maybe saying a bit more, as I just said. So I don't know if I was to go on what I was just watching something about. I think it was inspired by YouTube showing me something random and then going from there. I'm just gonna turn that down one. Maybe close this so that it doesn't go to the room and it's me more likely. Um, Now, this is the thing, is that, well, I guess the internet makes it a bit easier, but nobody's gonna know everything or be an expert in everything. Um, and I'll use this example because I'm not thinking of another one at the moment. And yes, I'm utilizing my energy, but maybe one thing I'll try and do is read the comments quietly. But they're in. You'll hopefully be able to tell when I'm not talking, I'm reading. Um, you know, if you put a comment. But I don't know exactly what I have to say, but it was just interesting. I was watching something about, and it's very kind of from a, whether we want to say psychological standpoint or what, but it was, and I have heard the phrase before actually, it was about aphantasia. And both of them left, they're like, oh, they both like, we despise that. Um, can't remember at the moment. It was just a little bit that I watched. I can't remember if that's people who can only more strongly communicate out loud or the opposite of that. But I mean, if it's the first, I mean, that's very much a YouTuber type of thing, right? A YouTuber, a performer type of thing. Um, and I'm fairly like that. Well, and I'm both of those things as well. I don't know if I have aphantasia, but I would think I do. Like, I mean, I'm not always home by myself, but I often am. Um, maybe it's more when you're like, or even the other person around sometimes I don't know. I'm a very auditory processor. That's what it is. It's kind of tiring until core. It's kind of tiring at times, but it's how I've always been for the most part. Well, not always, but at least my adulthood. And I was a very hyper kid, but a lot of kids are. I don't know. I don't know. I can't remember if I was similar to that in childhood, but the thing I was watching, it asked whether I should state this or not, but this is whether we look at things with a viewpoint of a stigma or not, um, or as necessarily being a negative thing or not. Um, because one person had said, is it common for those with mental health issues? I'm gonna say likely people with schizophrenia do it. They just got so much going on in their head they have to. It's not that they maybe don't hear it, but well, because they do, but they just have to get it out because it's just a form of release. Unfortunately, I'm sure for many people, it still stays there, or it comes back, or it's anyway. And that's not. I would say that's not my area of specialty. Something similar, kind of, but or yeah. I mean, I'm fairly diverse, but that would not be topic for me. But I'm curious. I am curious what been rolling for just a short while. We have one person currently here, just tuned in actually, so welcome. And I'm curious about your thoughts about the title and what you, yeah, and you left. Oops. I shouldn't say it out loud, but I have a data. Or the opposite of it. But yeah, and again, it's not that I didn't process what I was hearing, but I didn't process it out loud, me verbalizing it. You know, I grew up doing music and theater somewhat often. So, when you are practicing lines or a song, that's out loud, right? So, and there was somebody about 2 minutes, a minute or two. So it kind of makes sense that that would have kind of stuck for that reason as well. Um, yeah. So what is a topic that you would like to ask me about? Um, come on, YouTube Lynn, don't disappoint me. I want to be helpful. I want to be, I don't want to disappoint you either, and I'll try my best not to. I want to be helpful. I want to be there for you. I want to have a nice conversation. So yeah, let's not make it so quiet here. Particular one is just like that right now, I guess. I'm just seeing something that kind of reminded me of something, which I'm gonna sit here for a moment while waiting to see what else picks up momentum, hopefully in here. I'm gonna sit here for a moment and think about a couple other things that I've been thinking about recently, and kind of show you. Like I say, this isn't as much about trivia. Trivia, I did do one with that theme, and it had a lot of views, which is not my only indicator of something doing well, to be honest, on YouTube. You know, again, it all depends if it's reaching the right people and they're taking the time to sorry, repeat, taking the time to try and get into the content and possibly putting aside preconceived notions or judgments. But I did it in the other room, not in great lighting, it's true. And it was the device that's sometimes wonky, and it may have been, but it was doing pretty well. People do like trivia, and I'm not opposed to it being a trivia question, but I'm more so thinking other stuff, deeper stuff, you know. But yeah, I'm gonna sit for a moment, think about some things that have been kind of. I mean, I should be able to, but I guess we'll see. And I'm actually going to try and do it silently because I want to try and put my thoughts together, and nobody's currently watching. So, um, I'm kind of, I don't know, thinking of one. I don't know if it's a great example though. Hmm. Content. Um, hmm. And it's one of those rare examples. I was in a session for something last night, and I was in a pretty good mood. A little tired, but a pretty good mood. And she was like saying, and she did this neat exercise where it was kind of like, on one hand, you're thinking of, positive experience and the different sensations that you noticed. And we randomly were talking about Christmas, even though it's not near Christmas, but there is a thing called Christmas in July, I've heard. Anyway, then you rub your leg with those good feelings, and then the other hand, you think of struggles, and you rub that, and then you start to go kind of back and forth, which I guess right, autistic even, but in some levels. Um, and it's like a balancer or an equal, and but I wasn't having, I mean, it's not that I'm not, I'm not don't have stress or struggles, but I wasn't having anything particular at that time. Um, I then started to think of something which could have gotten there, but there was some audio issues near the beginning, and I didn't want to interrupt, and I was trying to fiddle with them and start a little bit. And then yeah, I guess I was starting to lose focus a smidgen, because in the evening, and he wasn't. Right, we hadn't started the next one yet. But yeah, so basically um yeah, because it was last Friday that I got didn't take. Anyway, basically, I guess maybe I was thinking about a certain relative that I've had a falling out with, and I was, attached to those feelings or the thoughts that the and it wasn't a complete falling out. We still have some communication, and we've even seen each other a couple times in the past few months, and we'll be seeing each other a couple times probably soon again. And it was kind of like, I guess, realizing that although the hard feelings were still there and valid, um, and I'm noticing signs of her aging too, with her communication a little bit. But the other day in person, uh, quite great. Anywho, and basically, um, but feeling more neutral, feeling more not fully at peace, but at peace with the situations, in that person. Um, and so, but there was something I said when I started sharing about this that made me think of, it's hard in the moment, like, but I guess if I was to say one, um, like I say, because I want this to have content. I don't want to just be sitting here silently and I'm waiting to make a phone call, which technically I could make in about 10 or 15 minutes, so we'll see. Um, but I otherwise don't have that much. Um, and I don't, now that I'm rolling, I don't want to be getting distracted either, for the most part. Um, as I let myself be distracted because I'm bored. Where is everybody? No, but, um, and I did one of the topics kind of recently because it is something I've been dealing with recently is like excitement about something coming up and it's getting closer, but it's still not here yet. And the first 2 days of it aren't necessarily, I found a way to get into the groove of things and it'll be fine. But it's yeah, and I'm kind of, one thing that I do think is helping, although um I'm not entirely sure if we're completely there yet. And it's hard to say for sure. Like, I mean, I just hope that the people I'm going to be connecting with, stay healthy, don't have anything bad happen, and that everything just goes well and smoothly and we have lots of fun. Um, but it's hard to know that and guarantee that because we know how life can be, right? And so until it gets here, it's not here yet. You know what I mean? Or until these people get here. I wasn't calling them it. I was just talking about it as in the thing I'm talking about in general. But although it is funny when I was thinking about the other day when I was thinking about babies, I was like, oh, I used to call them it. But when I was quite young as well. But yeah, so basically, one thing I mean, it's only been the case for a couple of days or so, I guess I would say. But one thing that I feel has helped is having a bit more of a clearer picture, a bit more of an outline um, to those days coming up. Not just kind of a vague idea of them. And that I feel has helped well, it's given some certainty, right? That's really what it's done. As much as it can, and that's helpful. And there was somebody there for a few seconds. Those must just be, I would say those would be scroll buys, but then it should be constantly showing that it's top. So I don't know what it is. Accidental clicks, maybe it doesn't count scroll buys. I don't know. Anyway, point them out. That would have been a great topic though, as to like what is something that you're trying to gain certainty about in your life? And feel free to put it in the comments. Um, because, like I say, and then it's another thing too when you get that certainty and are able to then move through it and to get to the thing. Um, Whereas some things though you will have to wait, unfortunately, for. And they probably are worthwhile, worth the wait, and it all goes well. Like I'm not with this particular example, I'm not really foreseeing much not going well. I'm just eager for the fun of it. But like I say, there are always uncertainties, and it's uh it's hard, right? So, but that's something that I would like to help with, and I wish there was somebody here hearing me as I say it right now. But is if there's something that you're trying to get some momentum happening with in your life, I might even put that in the chat as a prompt later. Hopefully, it will display it. I think that's a really great question. I am going to add an S to because there could be more than one thing, and I know that picking can sometimes be hard. And this is not meant to, evoke challenge for you or rest. It's more as get past challenges kind of thing, I guess. So, so what I was just kind of alluding to is one area. It's another area I might not want to talk about much here. Nothing bad, but it hasn't exactly been positive um, um, for me lately. But perhaps I'm getting there. And some elements of it have been probably, but I'm hoping some people I'm familiar with, but then also others will tune in soon. Because yeah, this is boring. I was meant for more than this, folks. I was made for loving you. Just kidding. No, the song just came to mind. Um, I was I was meant to help, so let me help. We're all working through our own stuff too, and most people are. That doesn't mean that we can't be here and help others, though. I mean, you have to know your capacity, abilities, and if you're really, really, really deep in your struggles, then yeah, probably you could. But I think I've also found, for the most part, a lot of content. Well, yes and no. I'm in some ways very content with my life, in other ways very discontent. So there's that. No, those are really cool. This getting very interesting. Sorry about the sound of the AC, by the way. It's actually somewhat breezy out today. However, it isn't quite making its way inside. I'm finding when I've had the doors open, it really isn't. I'm not noticing it there. Well, this thing charges slow. I know I'm rolling, but it's only charged like 5 or 6%. Can't remember exactly what it was at last time I looked, but I kind of do. Just quickly looking at something. For a sense of company and content to continue here in this video, since it's so quiet, and it could be an approach that I use, but it doesn't have to be necessarily. It's an approach I use for myself when I'm able. I'm tempted to kind of think on some of my loved ones and see if I can kind of bring their presence into this. But I am. I'm not really sure what I'd want that to look like. It's not that I usually have a certain request or requirement with it, but I think my mind's usually a lot more active. I've had a busy number of days, a bit more tiring than I'm kind of used to. So that could be part of it. It's just two potentially could be. So it's just a little afternoon. So it's not like it's super late or early. But yeah, I don't know. Hmm. I just had an interesting random kind of question come to mind. I wonder if our angels are able to get answers from God for us if we say that there's a God or the creator or other intuition. I would imagine that is quite busy. I've always said that's why we have each other. And I feel like we all are the creator. That being said, a lot of people would also say, and the Bible, but I don't have one handy. It takes a certain methodology to kind of follow it. And I know I don't agree with some things in it, probably too. I'm no expert, though, so we don't talk much about it. But you can see, though, that there is a part of me that wants to get closer to God because I do believe that He's connected to me, even if it's on a very base level. And there is a question eating at my mind. I'm also thinking of a couple people in my life. I'm not sure if I'm sensing that they're both present, but um, I do sense right. Okay. Now, I'm hopefully going to be able to tell when it seems like it's more from her, me, which is not the intent of doing this, or God. And you know, it may be something that people think, oh, there's no way that she could have gotten an answer from God that quickly. And if you see my channel before, you know about this, and this may not be the best introduction, but it's kind of an interesting one. If this works for me, and if you have faith, in this brings me closer to a faith, then that's the main thing, right? So maybe she's gotten this answer from him in the past, but I sure as heck like to know. And it's kind of a deep question, and it's a very common one. that so many of us wonder at points in our life, and sometimes over a long time in our lives. The question, or one way to ask it is, what are the reasons that we're put here on earth to go through this life in all, all its very various things? And it's interesting because if I was to sit and actually, yeah, answer that myself for a moment, I would say that the answer is different for everybody, but also very similar for everybody. When we think in terms of like to learn and grow and help and uh, teach and love and I know it's kind of a vast. Well, they a lot of these can be experience, um, maybe even create. I don't know. That covers a lot of them. I don't know if there's other ones, but but on a and it's not that those aren't deep things, but on a deeper level, the question of well, I'll tell you actually, if I was going to be completely honest here, in this moment, in this podcast. And a bit lately, not all of my life, although I don't know if I'd actually be able to think of when it wasn't the case, what was different. It in this theme, what was different is there was more um a busier schedule around connected to more people. So there was more opportunity where seen fit to offer support, if asked, and just because someone isn't asking doesn't mean they wouldn't appreciate it, but we also have to recognize it also too when it's someone is not asking for advice. I do think that venting can be asking for advice. Some people think it isn't, and sometimes it isn't. But but my big question right now is it'll be very interesting to see where this goes. I think I'm music. I don't mean to sound egotistical. Sorry, I'm just not getting very much time. It's moving really fast. Not meaning to sound egotistical at all. Healthy ego, healthy confidence. I don't think I know I'm musically talented. And although there's not a ton on this channel recently showing that, there is some. So see for yourself. As far as my level of empathy and intelligence and helpfulness, I mean, I'm sorry, I gotta brag a little bit, pat myself on the back there. Yeah, I think I'm again, no, I don't think I know. Interesting. And the hardest part in knowing is sometimes realizing that sometimes it takes a while to find opportunities. And I don't think that either. I know. And I know that there's a certain someone I was a performer actually that I was talking about the other day who in some of her content or in her description of something claimed to always be right. And I'm not doing that because that's silly to assume that you're always going to be right. But what I'd like to know I'm just gonna do a couple of quick things though before I start. And it's interesting too because a couple of the people I'm thinking of right now um, are older, although anybody can have an interesting perspective. But in life, kind of it ebbs and flows, and it doesn't really matter how old you are. There will always be variables, and there will always be experiences of that. So it was just briefly kind of letting a bit more air through the room. Um, but and I don't know now that we have somebody that just tuned in. I've been rolling super long, and it's been fairly quiet. There's been one or two that didn't even really stay long enough to decide if it, or I would say, to decide if it was really something that they would be into because yeah. So, but basically, so I was just about to pose an interesting question and see about getting it in an interesting way. But the main idea of this video is to end the left. So I'm going to do that then. I mean, not that, I'm doing it and people might see it anyway, but in the moment with somebody that just tuned in, I don't know if I would have been comfortable doing it. But because hard to um it's hard to acknowledge, I guess is the wording. The fact, and it was just on a post, I don't know what things are. The fact that lately in some ways I'm not where I want to be in my life. And if you think about mainstream society, we could say that maybe I've kind of figured out why, but largely I don't think I have. And I would sure like to. Can you relate? In fact, I don't think I know that I need to. How's that? Because not doing so is not living to my full potential. Do you relate? So I try and be neutral, if not completely positive. Every now and then, negative feelings will come in. That's normal. But and some of us truly are more able. We can think, okay, I see what I need to do. Now I can go do it. And some of us were like, we see what we need to do, but we can't seem to do it. Can't for whatever reason, something gets stuck in the process. No judgment, I understand. Another way of forming the question would be, why have I been given music abilities or a great heart? Not that I don't give it to my loved ones that I, live with and the occasional other important person in my life, but I have way more potential with those two examples than is being allowed to shine, or that is impacting. I mean, the truth is I've been in a bit of a rut for a little while now, and I'm stuck at home a lot. And it's sometimes hard to get to things, and then there's the cost and that. And so, yeah, it's totally a lack of opportunity. And I try and keep my eyes open, but there's lots of people looking for opportunity. lots of people who are, establish themselves, and if somebody says, "Oh, I'm looking for something for this," that before I get to it, lots of other people have been suggested. And it's not that they aren't necessarily great, although some of them might not be, but so am I. You know what I mean? And it's really unmotivating, disheartening, sad, confusing to know that I'm not. It's interesting though. I did hear an interview from a musician today. He did a song, somehow it got popular, way more than he expected it to. I guess it was his first song, and to be honest, it's the only one of his that I know. And he was like a one-hit wonder from my knowledge. He might have more stuff now. And in fact, one thing he said was it took him to getting to homelessness before he accepted a record deal because he really didn't want one. As far as being a performer, it can be very great, very fulfilling, very kind of get you into your passion and your ability and very healing for all. But it can also be very stressful, very I'm talking at the moment about being a performer. Even if you're not one, we can switch gears if there's, something that you'd like to talk about. But being a performer, yes, it's I would say mostly good. But like for instance, you have to be in big crowds all the time. Sometimes you might just want to play for a small audience, but you're a big name performer, so you find big opportunities. I don't know if you. I thought that they were two the I thought that was kind of a neat topic. That would be something I would experience. Um, but yeah, basically, and so my angels, even the creator, because it's interesting. I'll share something very personal, or share something. And it's interesting. I also have a place in mind, which kind of reminds me of where I was when I experienced this. When I was about 25, I had a visitation from my dad's spirit. Okay, and that was me, and it was very special. And I've shared it with a few people. And then every now and then, you know, sometimes with long gaps, and I was going through a lot at that time. So I think, after that visit, there may not have been one for a few months, maybe even a year. Um, but I'm pretty sure that this experience happened after that, and after possibly a few other ones, where a lot of people claim, whether it's through the Bible or church or whatever, not to get deeply religious, because I know that won't resonate with some people, but it's all about, you know, accepting different stuff, different feelings and that. Anywho, basically, and I wrote it out too. I'm telling you, I wrote it out after I experienced it. It was if I was to think for a moment and say, oh, I see God, if and I mostly do feel that God is the creator, then I see him in everybody for the most part. I see him in nature. And you know, so he's spoken to me in those ways. Thanks for the like. Who do we got here? But I have never the dancer. Nice to have you here. Now it's there, but that could be inaccurate because it has been before. First time seeing our content? What kind of dance do you do? Oh, now it's one again. I'm curious. Nice to have you here. Um, Anywho, But the time that I felt, let's say verbally, because I probably verbalized it. How are you? I'm doing okay. I know I asked you a couple things. Anyway, just going with this train of thought. If there's something trivia or in your life that you'd like some input on, I put an interesting question above. What is something you want some momentum for in your life or in life? As a dancer, you're probably used to a lot of momentum, but I mean, we all have movement and we need to. But just to go back to this previous thing for a moment, um, I felt that God was saying, and this isn't a hugely religious video, but for a moment it is, that He wants me and really all of us to be happy and fulfilled, whatever that means for them, for me, for them, as long as it's not, doing anybody harm. So when I look at what I feel I have been given in my life, born with, developed skills that make me happy and make me feel fulfilled, but don't get um to the level that I want to with them. Often it's just for me, and the person I live with. At times it has varied through life, but these days I need it so much. And I think that they could be very powerful and impactful for me and other people. And it hasn't been happening. So that's where the question comes from as to why. If that's what he wants, or if that's what the universe wants and has given me, or likewise, in your life, what about it? I mean, we're 47 minutes in and it is YouTube, it is the internet. What about it? It's a dance itself, isn't it? Some ways. Um, but yeah, I mean, I just wonder, you know, yeah. What? Your sister's sitting next to you and typed it in to be goofy? Okay. Yeah, ask how old you guys are. You girls are. Um, but I mean, hey, it's a topic. It's a very human thing. Ha ha ha! Celebrate, celebrate. 100%. Anyway, um, but what does either the topic, either the second comment that I've got there, because the first one was just kind of a setup thing that I put after the fact. The title, what I'm saying, what does it make you think? I'm curious. Have you grappled with this kind of stuff in your own life? I think we all do, some more than others. So if somebody, second person just tuned in, I don't know if it's the dancer's sister or somebody else, but it could be because lots of people dance, right? And now it's down to one. So is it still the dancer or is it the other person? She said, I must ask you if so. I'm noticing that you spell you interesting, but the Y is near the J, and I'm realizing you mean you, as in me. She said, I must ask you if she can see. Not on here, darlings. Come on, this is a more kind of philosophical, help each other figure out life thing. I mean, it's okay to have a little bit of fun and be a free spirit, but yeah, and yeah, that wouldn't be happening on here anyway. We got a second viewer here. So yeah, philosophically, in your life, trivia, what is something that you trying to figure out? Giorgiuno. That sounds very French. My Juno work? I don't have one. Just kidding. I should. It's another thing I should have, but yeah, like I say, I was asking some deep questions. If and you're here, and it looks like you might be working on an answer to them. So I just got to go to the other room very briefly, and then I'll come back and see what other comments you've got here. Go ahead. I'm still in the room and I can't but be a bit curious. No, still same at the moment. Okay. No. Yeah, it's super hot, not particularly silent. Although I thought the temperature said it was supposed to be pretty hot, but so we have two people here. Sorry, I was just briefly away. Um, this isn't meant to be a hugely religious podcast. Again, I understand that that doesn't resonate with some people. It said 2 to 1, but I'm not sure if it's still the answer or what. But at the top there, but it's interesting because I do because I was kind of talking about that kind of stuff. I guess it's the interesting concept of belief in something versus trusting in something or having faith. Um, so I would say I believe in, but that my belief wavers or is, well, sometimes it's consistently inconsistent, if that makes sense. It lately I've been finding it hard. But at the same time, you can notice the good and the wonderful things about your life, and that helps. It does. But it's important to look at the other stuff too sometimes. I don't understand how your sister, I mean, she's okay, why? You're not getting from this what you'd hoped, or and what is it that you'd hoped, dare I ask? Um, maybe because your sister's distracting you? Why don't you tell her to go if you want to be here, why don't you tell your sister to go do something else for a bit and bug you later? She's like, yeah, I'm pretty good at that. I'm curious. You're not sounding like adults. I don't know how old you are. But then again, some people's adult siblings probably bug them too. So I mean, um, and we got a second viewer. If you're the second viewer has been here for a few minutes, feel free to chime in as well. Um, we gotta also, as much as we possibly can, cherish our family and our loved ones, even through their quirks. I'm going to be going to some theater stuff soon. One of the things I don't know if I decided I was going to go to it, but it's an option to actually talks about. And my other device is downstairs. I could do it, bring it on here, but I don't remember exactly what the show was called. But I might, and the description might be kind of powerful for you to hear. And it's basically something around the topic of siblings. And there's actually a couple kind of based on family stuff. Um, I can remember the image with it, but until I click the expand button, they don't show. Um, but I kind of said it too, fairly decently, I think. And it sounds like you're leaving the dancer, so okay. Can give me it. And then the other one left too. Was the other one your sister? I'm confused. That was very kind of odd. Not necessarily saying they're odd, but that was kind of and not really why I did this, to be honest. You know. But we have somebody else here, and I'm thinking it's not the person that was just here, but welcome. Been rolling for about an hour. Okay, and you left, so sweet. Not welcome then. Just kidding. Yeah, try and be welcoming with pretty much most people, but some people don't seem to appreciate it. But I had posed that question, and I realized I don't know if I've answered it or if I've just been kind of moaning and groaning about it. I actually felt, I remember I initially was going to kind of answer it with like the assistance of an angel, and possibly, you know, them having been told at some point. I'm thinking is more likely than asking in the moment and getting a quick answer. You know, that's one thing. One reason why I don't believe in God's almightiness is it's a humongous world with lots of people. Many believe, some want to, and if we're to believe that God wants everyone to believe, then he's got work to do, I suppose, right? Because some very much don't. But I'm not judging them. But so I'm more inclined to say that it's going to come from spirit, or it's going to come from them relaying the information, the answer. I've asked the question. Now I'm going to sit and listen for the answer, which is a little bit awkward because I was just tuned in, but so happy to have you here. It's been a little quiet, the activity that there has been. I'm not sure if it's that person back or not. Okay, person left. So anyway, I heard something very interesting. Again, I would have a hard time telling myself that I directly am hearing this from God in this moment. Maybe I shouldn't try and decipher whether it's Ray or him passing it along to her, but I'm hearing something. I don't know if I would say it surprises me or not, but it does a little bit. I don't slow down. And I'll tell you why that's kind of interesting to me. Well, when we were talking about appraoches earlier, and there was somebody that said, but then there was another person who kind of has all her thoughts internally. Obviously, sometimes you communicate them in one way or another, but and she said, "Oh, well, I always have to be doing something or watching something." But I got a stronger sense from the other guy that he was that way, and so many of us are, right? And I am, but it's interesting because the other day I told myself, except for a couple times recently, I haven't really been posting a lot on here, and I really haven't been watching as much as I used to. And I know I've had a few other little focuses, but I can't figure out. Nothing's changed that much for me. I can't figure out, well, what have I been doing then? I certainly haven't been sitting and meditating and reflecting more than usual. it's very strange to think and realize that. But maybe it was kind of leading into, that's very powerful because I'm kind of thinking, just kind of sharing an experience that I've recently went through that I don't, you know, I've had a couple people, some of them work in mental health fields, and a couple other people say that I'm a very self-aware person. But I don't, I guess we all have moments where we're not as conscious as other times when we're awake. And it's like only a day or two ago did I notice that, yeah, I feel like, how do I put it into words? Like I've not been, um, maybe you'll laugh. Like I don't know how to put it into words, but you take too long. No, just kidding. Just kidding. No, it's kind of a hard one to put into words, but I think really what I'm trying to say is I've not been, or at least it feels like I haven't been. And I don't think it's just that, I'm so used to it that I'm just not noticing it because I've been used to it and noticing it for a long time. But I have not been absorbing, and I'm not saying it's good or bad. Well, I've not been absorbing as much content on this site and another one, kind of. Been a little bit. I don't. I can barely explain it, obviously, but it's almost and July is the rest of July is going to be fairly busy, and that's fine. It's good stuff. Um, and it'll probably bring a lot of reflection and introspection. I'm not sure the difference, honestly, but into my life. But I just need to take a moment to either ask Ray or try and figure out. And this is very interesting. This is very interesting. It's not to say that from my angel or from the creator, God, that it's not from them, but I'm hearing that it came from myself first for once. Some people may say, okay, well, that sounds like it's expressing a need or desire that you feel that you have. And I don't feel that. I mostly don't. I feel the opposite, actually, because I feel like Ray is communicating to me telepathically that you have been given some lovely characteristics and gifts and abilities, and you will use them as you're meant to. Try not to judge yourself or sometimes others. Lord, I don't think I do that a lot. And this is advice for any of us when it's not as you wish it to be. When it's not, yeah, that's a perfect way to say it, I think. And I know that somebody just tuned in and we're kind of in the middle of the topic, but you can also introduce a topic. I don't mind, but I am going to finish this thought first and the viewer left. Um, but whatever. Um, some people say it's the external validation I'm looking for. I'm not going to say no because I also want to give that to others. Um, I just had a really deep realization. This friend that passed away, I was looking at her photos today. I guess I had her page up because I've recently been on it. And one of the people that had reacted had, um I don't know if I'd seen their page before, but I looked a little at it because I was curious. I thought, just like I'm always curious to know people that knew my dad. I mean, I passed away young. He was kind of a workaholic. So although I knew, or more so then, when I was younger, people that knew him, I mean, he, like I say, he passed away young and I was young. Um, it's neat to me to have connections with people that are connected to loved ones that have passed away. There's the image. Because you can relate to each other. I mean, it doesn't have to be the same person, but it's like I heard someone say recently that, when somebody is young, although a lot of young people who have been through a lot of stuff, if they primarily know or are most close with other young people who have not experienced someone passing away, I says, we can all realize that we all will, and it's a very human thing, and empathy isn't that hard, but they might not truly know, just like anything else, until something happens to you, you don't know what it feels like. Anywho, it was two of them over there. Anywho, no, there's one, and then there's that. Anywho, like rematch. But anyway, basically, um, this guy, wow, the connections are very wild. This guy, I didn't notice it at first, and I'm very surprised I didn't, but he reminds me of someone in a unique form and way, well, kind of unique, that I was introduced to, and I know why. I know why, and I've talked about him in other videos here, because we have a lot in common. And actually, we have somebody very special in common, this friend that passed away. And realizing that they can have significant others in heaven. And one thing about him that I was told, and then I make an image for me, um, was that he had, I don't want to say intense, but very um, intriguing eyes, for lack of a different way of putting it, I guess. And when I looked at this guy that I came across earlier today, I started to realize, you know what, this looks a lot like this guy. And he also looked like somebody that I knew in my life for quite a while who was mixing alcohol with meds, was having really difficult mental health stuff going on, um, was doing things, but then not really owning up to their part in it, his part in it, and we drifted. And how this also ties in with what I heard a few moments ago was that when he was in a mental health ward, 149, he his sister, speaking of sisters, sent him a song. Okay, Frey. And I did think I would like to incorporate some music, whether anybody else ends up hearing it or not. Someone said to me the other day that when I'm doing music with the other person in the household, and I don't think we've posted a lot of it recently, so I don't know how much she's seen. And I forget her exact wording, but she was talking about how special it is, and it is. But interestingly, if I let it, music can help me feel a sense of peace and stillness and healing as it can for any of us. And I haven't heard this song in a while. I do want to kind of look at the idea a bit more, but I don't know if I should do it before or after. Because if I do it before, I might just be, or if I do it after, rather, I might just be, if I do it before, I could be too distracted. What part of me is kind of thinking is that maybe there's answers within the lyrics that I should pay attention to. You're trying to see the bigger missing that person. Um, but is there any other reason why it hasn't happened that and what I'm hearing is that it's just not time yet. It's totally understandable why I think it should be. And I have gained things, a lot in my journey to help me when I'm there. But some people are just some people just experience more hardships. I mean, we all do, but some people experience more hardships, or at least what seems to be those. Sometimes maybe they're not as we think they are, but sometimes maybe they are. And I'd like to take a moment. I know that it's most definitely not hopefully my fault, but we did have someone just tune in, and I just want to put it out there to anybody who hears this and they left. And maybe I need to hear it too. I'm sorry to know that you've experienced some challenges, some hard things in your life and in mine. Now, if I'd had my session that I had the other day, and I might have one today because she's off of her day job today. If I'd had that, but I guess she's got a lot going on or whatever. But I may have had a different experience last night. But there was, like I say, some audio difficulties. Um, so it's not just necessarily about I have been, and again, some of it's good and maybe helpful that I have been processing too much online, but in general, I don't feel like it's solely that, but um, and um, it sounds like uh, yeah, it's having to have that acceptance of the fact that oh, we can't have that window open even though it's cooler. Do I have this one open? That it's just not the time for certain things to be at the moment. Other things, sure. Yeah, that window's open. Hopefully some of it makes its way in there. But I'm thinking the way that the layout is upstairs, any open windows or fans that are on isn't really going to make its way in here. And I'm feeling a little bit, I mean, he's okay, pretty sure. I just want to turn on the AC uh, for the dog here in this room. And then I'm going to go downstairs and I'm going to play a song. And the viewer was here for like a couple minutes. They're like, why is this video about turning on the AC? It's obviously been about so much more than that. They're like, yeah, and I missed a ton of it already. I was kidding. But 12:55. I'm gonna go for just a little bit longer. So far, this has been not super motivating. I want to switch tasks shortly, and yeah, but I mean, it's been something that apparently I've needed to do. That I'm not going to say entirely that it hasn't been worth it. It just would be nice if it was reaching more people, and I'm not even necessarily saying huge numbers. That's something to understand. Maybe it's interesting that some people might have. And I'm not saying that I don't have, good and sometimes lofty expectations for this channel. Sorry, I just noticed that uh there's not much we recycle, so it's fine, but not much bottled water in the fridge right now after just taking that one. So I want to put a couple of them in there right now. But the other people's expectations of what the number count should be is maybe different than mine. You know, Mine is not 0 or 1 necessarily or 2, but it's not necessarily hundreds or thousands. Like, I'm fine with that too. And this channel kind of was dormant for a while, I will say that, and then it kind of came back into thing. Now, what I'm looking for before I start is because I thought I might want to have them on. I don't think I want to wear socks. I was looking for my sandals just to slip them on. Not those ones though, because I feel like I have to wear those ones with socks. Not sure why I'm not seeing them. I'm not going to put the AC on, by the way, because this is a soft song and it may be too noisy. Well, where the heck? I don't think I went upstairs with them. I've had them on briefly this morning, so that's a little strange. Make sure I didn't leave them out on the front deck. Little chair. Oh well, I don't hugely need them. Would have been nice, but I don't hugely need them, so it's okay. But I would like to find them soon. Like, they're not ones that I can walk super far with, but I like to put them on if my feet are chilly or I'm just on the deck, and not liking the feeling of the surface otherwise beneath my feet. Anyway, um, so 18s. I know. I don't know. Like, the person that was commenting was nice, but apparently her sister was distracting, and she sounded as annoyed, and I don't know if I'd say I'm annoyed, but certainly was, again, not what I did this video for, to have that little change. I know what it maybe is suggesting in my life, and we'll see. But shoes are penny. Yes, you. That's actually really ironic because actually, speaking about that, when knowing this in the ward, um, there was another place where somebody had refused this beer. They were expensive, and I had to leave and slipper thingies. But it's hard to, I will say that it is hard to accept that certain things like my career life, certain goals and aspirations, to hear that it's not time for them yet. And been feeling like that seems to be the case for the most part for a while now. But like I say, we can just hope that maybe soon. Which actually makes me think, well, no, I'm not gonna do that. I just there are no songs about sisters. That's what I kind of think of Jenny, but no, other than that, not really. Um, I'm hoping that that doesn't interrupt us. The phone. I am expecting a phone call. Well, I don't know if I am. I said I gave my number to something about something I'm trying to get involved with, and they say that they can't find it in the system, so call again. But it should be there. So if it's not there, that's somewhat what inspired this video. Actually, it's just kind of the last daisical ways of something. Again, I'm experiencing where I'd kind of prefer to have this here in front of me. Did put those back. Let me just see. Is it distracting like it was yesterday? And why wouldn't it be? Because it seems to be angled a little lower down. Good, I can zoom it. I don't know why it seemed kind of tiny. Interesting pattern. Because it's probably not that place. Be still, pray, still, and know that I am with you. Be still and know that I am here. Be still and know I'm with you. Be still and know I'm you. Covered you with fear and shame. Be still and know I'm with you. And I will say your name. I just realized, okay, don't have anybody here. Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to edit that out. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling that one. I am wondering, dare I, and then think of another place. And I'm gonna put on the AC. The other thing is I want the AC on, and that's to oh, I just realized I better not be too long, so I don't want to go up until I'm bringing this back up. Well, this will have to charge soon, but I just realized that that I left some doors open upstairs, and the dog could easily get. You know what? That's going to distract me, so I'll be right. Copy these. You think of that? Um, it's a bit of a trigger to do this, but this kind of music, but that's not doing like editing this aside from a couple other errands. Haven't heard this in ages, but I'm curious to hear it again. Hopefully, I'll find that as I start playing it, I'll want to. Oh yes. So I'm not a churchgoer. I'm not about preaching, you know, but I'm also, like I say, I try to believe and hold faith, and I would say I'm mostly agnostic. Um, maybe it's a bit of a lack of faith, but it's not also complete lack. So there's that. I'll do this for a little bit longer. And plug in. And then we'll go from there. Hopefully, like I say, the phone won't interrupt us. If it does, I feel like I am going to need to answer it. So nobody's here to hear me say it, but whatever. Huh, didn't have to reload it. I thought, oh, did I? I don't think I did, but here we go. That's that song. Just kidding. Actually, if I think I understand those lines. That means whereby the highest king welcome me. I was lost, got me in. Oh, oh, me. Oh, his heart for me. Through the sun sets free. Oh, it's free indeed. I am. Yes, I am free at last. Yeah. First of all, this song is a little bit, for me at the moment, too much on the religious facts or whatever you want to call it side, but then also the fact that seriously, I'm thinking of this place with this, but that um I was falling out of the melody for some reason. I really do want to do my other call too, but I mostly do anyway. Hmm. Maybe I'll do a short one with just music if I reach and wrap this one up. But if I don't reach the person, then I'll continue. I think so, no. Okay, continue for a bit longer. Good thing nobody was there and left right away because That's weird. Oh, it's from that album. But what's the song? Oh, okay, I see. So it's just a bunch of songs from a certain album? That's interesting. I've never seen that on this site before. Feel like a lot of these I'm not gonna know. It's a bit triggering to do some of these, but for me anyway, but and then that's just terribly done. It's just a bunch of chords and no lyrics. I don't know what that's about. Um some of those are neat titles. Um why am I suddenly so warm? I was thinking, okay, how about that? How about that song? Drake. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Just give me till someone's here, and then I'm gonna start this off. I know there may be angels. Some want to say even God. I think he's got a lot more things to do in the world than sit and listen to me play. But hopefully other people will have a bit of time and tune in, and it'll be lovely. 'Cause as far as doing it for myself, it's kind of like I know I have the ability. I'm not proving anything to myself. As far as the joy, I'd rather share in it with others. Oh, I shouldn't say that actually. Just a moment. Can I not undo it? Why not? That's so stupid. I hope that happens. I gotta check it out. He's passing. But you know what? Her sister's with her all the time. It's so bizarre. That won't move. Hmm. Okay. I also kind of want to find a second song to do in case somebody's here and is enjoying it, because although that title really is something to me. So Will I is quite lovely and well lyriced, but it's very long. But yeah, it's not that hot out because it's that nice breeze. I should go out and enjoy it very soon. Do I want to just wrap up with one song? I was really hoping that some people would tune in and enjoy it with me. Enjoy, But I know that I was doing something right because that. Well, that's my sister did it. No, I shouldn't say that. But maybe she really did. Or sister maybe. I did. No, I don't want to like that. No. It's like, yeah, you do want to like it. It's fabulous. And I want to like it too. Get it here. And I like it too. What's that from? I can't remember. Anyway. I'm actually hearing Ray say that when I'm feeling alone or like nobody's listening, my angels are, and I know it. And sometimes I suppose I sometimes forget that for whatever reasons that I can't think of at the moment. But also, I would say, um, it's not the physical. And the next closest to physical is getting comments, and it's not that as far as online goes. But she's saying, I didn't go to church a lot in my life either. But she's saying, I know this song, not necessarily because people do karaoke very often, but I know this song, she says. And she says, are you ready for something powerful, buddy? She says, even if in some ways it doesn't feel like it, you know that your being and your soul have been saved by something higher, something in the beyond, whatever you truly want to call it, which is more than one thing, probably, right? And she knows I, was saying that earlier, and that's just what I feel. And she says, so you know what? But she says, he has mightily saved you in your life from experiences, even though some things have been hard. She says there are some experiences that if you got if certain things that happened in your life, it would have been harder. And he saved you from those. He's kept you alive to appreciate the good that you do have. And as much as it's lovely here and we'll be happy when you're here someday, she says, uh, we'll be happy when you're here someday. It's really more how she would say it. She says, are you mimicking me? Yeah, just a little, just so the viewers, and so that it feels more real. Anyway, she says, just like it's not quite time for certain dreams of yours to come true or experiences, although soon, um, it's not your time to be up here yet. So I hope that you can at least mostly appreciate that you have been saved. You just missed something very deep just before the person tuned in. So now I'm going to do the song, which kind of fits with that. Again, you can look at this at whatever perspective that you want to this song. And it isn't the main theme necessarily of this podcast, but it doesn't necessarily have a main theme either. And the viewer left. They're like, how dare you tell me to look at how to look at something? I didn't say one way or another. I'm just trying to say that, if you're not religious, you don't have to look at this religiously. But it is a religious song, and to be quite honest, I mean, it'd be hard for me not to look at it in the way that it was just kind of delivered to me, right? In the way that, or now from the perspective that I've just been given, you know. But when I think of this place and I think of one particular thing that really stressed me out at one point in time, it was a very rare situation where clients got photographed. They probably gave permission. And I found out because it was right around I feel like it was near a holiday or something, that somebody was there that I was kind of happy to not have been around. That's a perfect example. Like, it wouldn't have been terrible, but it would have been a bit annoying, and so it worked out as it was meant to, more in my favor. I'm sure we all have examples of that, even if they're hard to see, or something like that in the bureau. But anyway, here for a few seconds. But anyway, I'm gonna just start the song now because there's been a couple times where somebody's tuned in, and I guess they haven't liked what I've been saying, but they may like what I be playing. So here we go. Why is everything opening so small? And I'm gonna put the AC on because I am very warm, and I don't necessarily want this to go certain people know it. Right. Everyone needs a passion and love that's damn everything. Let all save fall on me. Everyone needs a forgiveness, kindness, love, a hope of nations. I say, taking the mountain, mighty to say, mighty to say, where is not ready. Take me, find me, all my fears and failures, fill up my life again. Give my life to follow everything I believe in. Now I surrender. Father, Lord, thank you for everything right now. That is Savior. He can now. I need to stay. I need to stay. Conquer the grave. The grave. Shine your light and let the whole world sing. Singing. Shine your light and let the whole world sing. For the glory, the mountain, mighty to save, mighty to save, of the nation. It's okay. It's somewhat repetitive. And I don't know if I would say that the lyrics moved me as deeply as I would have wanted them to, but because I think I maybe needed that needed it to resonate a bit more with me. But um, I still think that there was a good message in that song, and yeah. Blues. Good, everything I need. I'm blessed. I thought of doing this song recently. It's not exactly a faith song. Lift guys, okay. This song I think it is. I don't remember it being Lewis. I would have thought of the acting group. Now, the reason why I haven't done this song before now is that um is that um I don't necessarily feel like I've got everything I need in my life. I've got some things that I very much appreciate, but other than that, so as a singer and wanting to relate what I'm singing, as I've been alluding to, I'm not there yet with this. But but um I am somewhat, and the message that keeps coming in or being reminded of at this point is that I'm getting to the other stuff. The other stuff is hopefully coming soon. And I hope the same for you. If you're a good person and then you deserve it. If you're not a good person, you can work on it. But doesn't mean that good things will happen just because you're a good person. But yeah. Daddy woke up 5 a.m. First man on the job. Mama got me things. Dear Lewis, had time and then 3 o'clock. Taught us both how to see right from wrong, how to talk to God. We didn't have much, but what we had was more than enough. I'm blessed, got everything I need. I'm blessed. I live on a time to talk to town myself. Hey, I'll be alright. I'm blessed. Yesterday to breathe. I'm blessed. Find myself that each and every day. I'm taking life in these beat up boots. Forging my own path. Found good and hold to. Always got my back. Doing my best to be a better man. Still talk to God. I don't have much, but what I got is more than enough. I'm pleased. Got everything I need. I'm pleased. Time to time. Tell myself it's okay. And be alright. I'm blessed. Got another day to breathe. I'm blessed. Find myself that each and every day. Blessed. Find myself that each and every day. Can you think? Find myself that and then find myself that each and every day. When I get feeling down, feeling down. When I when I get feeling down, holding on you. If there's no one else around, I start to close my eyes and see these gifts at the whole time. I, I've been fine. That's where I go, ooh, I'm ready. Need a minute. I'm down myself today. Be alright. Another day to breathe again. Beats coming my time. Not necessary, in my opinion. My humble opinion. Yeah, but the one who's passing materials. I don't think I know very many of his other songs, but now I've done that one. I think that I just noticed somebody just tune in as I was just finishing a song. I will do more. I welcome song request. I welcome rather and the viewer. Chi Magnifico Normally. Is that song? Messiah. A gift of love and righteousness. It sounds like relatively quick. It's just a summer nothing in me. Then at the cross, it he rain. Mm-hmm. Dee, 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 dee. Night, no fear in death. This is the power of Christ in me. Have to wrap up soon anyway, and then I'll do my other two calls and just take it easy. A song called Fresh Wind. I should look that up. Or at least pass some. Just kidding. Don't mind me. Unless you want to. Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes it's fun, and sometimes it's something. None? No, just kidding. Just kidding. Never none. Healer. I must look up that song later. In fact, I'm going to open it to look at later. Oh, yeah, there's lots of versions of it. Heart Like Heaven. What kind of title is that? It's a title that I adore. I've got a heart like heaven. Do you? If not, work on it. You can get there. So I'm just looking through songs. If anybody's here, feel like doing one more, even though that would kind of connect with what I did the other day. Even though I'm a little bit mixy about the theme. Um, connection and whether it will resonate. And it's also nice when people are here hearing it. Um, Trying to think about that. Churches. I probably got one or two more songs before I got to plug this thing in. It's your love, darling. Let me get all the Jesuses in the stuff. And then somebody just tuned in probably at that moment and think, wait, he just said my name. That was really odd. Why are you saying my name? Say my name, say my name. But you done to me. Tell me. I don't know the lyrics very well though. I just know that chorus. Oh, really? Okay, so now it's being a bit slow, kind of. Oh, wow. That's interesting. There was only, this is like a pretty big, extensive database, but there was only a couple songs, and maybe, yeah, only two or three songs that mentioned the word Lord in them. What's up, buddy? Majesty, here I am. Didn't want to open up so many tabs on here, but here I am doing so. So they have it. But it's my window. I really only use window, but not terrible. But, okay, this is dropping a little bit faster than I thought. Um, so or that, yeah. So what was that one song about wind? Because it's windy out, and I thought I might like to listen to the wind. Anyway, but did you have to plug this in? So yeah, take care.